We're here with the GameOverthinker. I am the original Gamer OG, original-gamer.com, GameOverthinker. We love your videos from your film and video games, but we got to talk first. Why go from film to video games? You're known as Movie Bob, and then all of a sudden this GameOverthinker popped in. How did that jump across like that?
Like everything else, it's because that's the way the fans reacted to it. The reason I'm known as Movie Bob is basically my name is Bob Chipman, and that was the name I just kind of pulled out of my ass and stuck on my blog when I first got a blog.
Right.
And I threw that on there, and then that became just as a thing to have my YouTube account and my everything else. So it's you want to have one name, one password, which I won't say what it is, around everything. And I basically didn't do much with it. I blogged, I wrote down, it's sunny today, my life stinks. And around about going on 3 years ago now, maybe 4, I had a film project that was going. I'm also an independent filmmaker, an amateur filmmaker, sorry, and that drove itself into a brick wall. I would prefer to be able to say it was my fault, but it was literally just fate working against me. And I had to do something with my time because I'd invested all kinds of money in this. It completely fell apart, and I had to do something. So I said, okay, you know what seems to be big right now or going around was when the angry nerd, the angry Nintendo nerd, James Rolfe, who's just the man. Everyone that does what I do does what we do because he did it first, and he was big. Yahtzee Croshaw had just happened with 0 punctuation. So I said, hey, I like video games and am angry. Why don't I try this? And I just did it to dick around on YouTube, just for fun. Screwattack was just happening, so I sent a video off to Craig, and the first 4 episodes I had like 200 hits on YouTube. And then I guess someone took it out of the file in Screwattack and put it on the site, and it blew up. And I suddenly got Screwattack wants me to join the site and participate in the My Vids Don't Suck contest. And then a couple of the video reviews that had been, while GameOverthinker was just happening, someone sent an old movie review, I find this out later, that I'd put on YouTube just dicking around, I think it was from Mamma Mia, to the Escapist Magazine. And they wrote me up and they said, will you come be a film critic for us? And I said, well, okay, yeah, sure, and we'll pay you.
Rock on.
Wait, what? I can get paid for this stuff? Okay, so here I am. And it's because I didn't seek out, and I probably should have. I'm a terrible businessman. I don't tweet, I don't Facebook, I don't whatever, social media, I don't know. Every break I've gotten in this so far is because people liked it and sent it off to someone. And I know that sounds like a cloying, feel-good answer, but no, that's literally what happened. People sent my stuff to people who then decided to give me either attention or money. So thank you.
What I love about your videos is that you do sort of a breakdown that not many people realize, and that people sort of know that it's there, but they didn't have a way to put it in words, but you put it in words. The one of the big ones that you did was Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 is like Super Mario Brothers Wii, right?
Yeah, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, yeah.
Yeah, and you broke that down, and you kind of had, well, this is how they're similar. But regarding that video, that was also sort of a clashing of genres. Yeah. With one that you really loved. In your previous videos, it was like Super Mario Brothers Wii's coming, yay! And then on other videos, it's like you could be a crappy game, like Modern Warfare 2. So you really hark on the FPSs, and there's tons of them, and a lot of people do. But what started that really when you saw that? Okay, now I really hate FPS games, or now I really don't view them in the same light as put them on a pedestal like other people do.
All right.
What started that?
Well, you've caught me early enough that this will be an honest answer. I harp on FPS games partially because I do think that there's a problem with them being too bland, too generic. They're too bland. That's responsible for a whole lot of, major things that are annoying to me in the video gaming world. But there are other things that piss me off more. FPS stuff comes up because it gets a rise out of people. Because, if I go on right now and I say, oh, by the way, X-Blades was not a very good game, and it was kind of silly, and it was kind of pandering, and I will get maybe one or two hits and people saying, I disagree, I thought X-Blades was okay. Now if you go on there and say, you know what, Halo's massively overrated, which I believe, I'm not like lying, but the reason you'll hear more from me about Halo than you will about X-Blades is because people care about Halo. People give a shit for some reason. So I do. The broader issue with first-person shooters is it's not so much the genre itself. I have liked some first-person shooters. I love BioShock. I love, like everyone else, I, put Doom on the computer in the school computer lab and played it there. I love Duke Nukem, this whole business. The thing that bothers me about the first-person shooters right now is that probably through no fault of the genre's own, it's become responsible for things that have damaged the industry, in my view, fun things. But things that are there is that I look at first-person shooters and I see, okay, this is where the fixation on online multiplayer as the main mode of the game comes from. This is where, everything having to be, for a while the run was, oh, it's always in World War II. Now it's, oh God, can we get, generic brown Middle Eastern location and, fleeing villagers and stuff that I'm just sick of. The lack of having to design compelling characters because your character is now just, the barrel of a gun being held by an anonymous hand. This whole thing. Half-Life I should throw in there too. Half-Life is good. Half-Life is good. That's really more of a first-person smacking game than a shooting game by far because it's more fun to use the crowbar.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like in BioShock. It's like, yeah, I like to kill them with the gun, but it's more fun that I'm killing you with a wrench or by shooting bees out of my hands. And BioShock shows that you can make a good game, an inventive game in the FPS genre. It's like, okay, your character is a pair of hands. So first we'll use the story to make this an everyman and a mystery as to who this is, and also we'll do stuff with the hands. What if he shoots bees out of his wrists? That's awesome. There you go. Why I can't do that in Modern Warfare 2? I don't know. I would love to shoot bees out of my wrist. I guarantee you, make a game where I can go to the Middle East and shoot bees out of my wrists at like Osama bin Laden or somebody, and that's a million-selling game. That's a million-selling game, or whoever is like the current big bad in the air, because by the time this airs we could have found him. I don't know, but we probably haven't shot bees at him yet, and I think that would be fun to do because I don't know, I'm still mad at him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm still pissed. Yeah, absolutely.
Haven't forgotten.
Okay, good.
So because of that, do you really hate Modern Warfare 2?
I don't hate Modern Warfare 2. I harped on it a little bit because I was annoyed with it.
Right.
Because I thought, look, so Modern Warfare 2 is excellently designed. No Russian is probably the most compelling piece of separate storytelling that's been done in a first-person thing because it's completely subverting the way that you usually want to play this game. And it's like usually FPS games shoot everything, move forward, and in that, unless you have absolutely no moral compass whatsoever, you don't want to go forward, you don't want to shoot. It's like everything that you would usually do, you don't want to do, and it's just a great piece of storytelling. The rest of the game never lives up to that. And it's like it's like if someone made like a Jason Bourne movie and cut like a piece of Schindler's List right into the middle of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this doesn't fit. But I didn't hate the game. I thought it was fun, but I also thought it was fun for the 10 hours it took me to beat the thing. And I played that right through for the weekend because my rule when renting games is, because I do want to support, game makers and stuff, is I'll rent, but I'm only going to rent it for like 2 days. And if I still want to finish it after those 2 days, I'm going to go out and buy the thing, eventually. I have like rental save games of Darksiders and Bayonetta to finish up on the Xbox when they drop below $59.99. Is Darksiders already down? Did that go down in price already?
Here and there, I've seen it drop down quite a bit on some sites.
Because it wasn't great, but it is like a Zelda fix.
Yeah.
And I would much rather see, instead everyone saying, oh, how come Zelda's not M-rated? Well, because it would suck. But Darksiders is M-rated. It's not, you can be creative ripping something off.
Right.
Darksiders is nakedly a Zelda ripoff. But they said, it's a Zelda ripoff, but we're going to do it in like Joe Mad's art. And it looks cool, and it's fun, and it's a decent thing. It's not a classic, but neither was Bad Dudes, and people still love Bad Dudes, and that was nakedly a Double Dragon wannabe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The like you said about there's games that you want to pop up because it stirs it up with gamers, and that leads to controversy. And I'm full of controversy on my podcast and so on. But what's been your most controversial video that really just send a wave of flames to you.
Resident Evil 4. 5. Resident Evil 5.
Resident Evil 5.
Resident Evil 5. Because there were two, and there was the first one, which was, because this came in two parts, and it was, the first one was when they first debuted Resident Evil 5, and they showed, the villagers and all the stuff, and Chris Redfield is, and I'm thinking, I was reacting to controversy in that one, because when that first came out, and I remember seeing the trailer for that, and I thought, oh, we're in Africa. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Probably like T-virus as a metaphor for, genocide and the AIDS outbreak, which was just decimating the poorer parts of Africa at the time. I thought, okay, that's edgy, that's interesting. And also, this means we're going to have a black lead in a Resident Evil game, because there's just no way that anyone would be culturally insensitive enough to have all, disease-infected poor Africans being shot down by one of the usual Resident Evil heroes, and then Chris Redfield shows up. And Chris Redfield is like the whitest guy in Resident Evil. He's not the whitest person, but he's the whitest guy in Resident Evil who's not dressing up as his sister. And he's in a cop uniform. And so it's a white guy in a cop uniform with like a high-powered rifle just blasting people in an African village who are throwing like spears and sickles at him. And I'm thinking, Hotel Rwanda didn't come out that long ago. Apartheid, these are not things that no one has heard of. And it just blew my mind. So I did a video about that. Okay, what's going to go on with this? And, I tried to defend Capcom in the first video because the game hadn't come out. And I said, okay, maybe they just didn't know. Maybe this is just dopey. And then the game comes out, and they give him an African sidekick who, of course, looks basically like a white woman that they've spray painted a tan on.
Yep.
And then, but okay, she's black. But then, if you beat the game, your reward is you can dress her up like, like a tribal princess thing with like a leopard print bikini and a necklace made of bones. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? But that was the most controversial one because I just got because when you scratch the surface of any issue in the Western world, and that's a problem as it is, scratch a little deeper, you will find race.
Yeah.
I don't like that that's the case. I'm not, Johnny Cochran, Jesse Jackson on this. It always matters, but the fact is, race is always there.
Because Resident Evil 5, for me, I saw it and I saw the grass skirts, I saw the natives, and then the alternate costume, and then I just looked at it and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of, but these are the Japanese. They've been making anime for years with the big lips. I mean, they're not used to seeing black people. The only time they really see black people are the military guys. And there's even places, I won't say they're not allowed, but it's like, hey, you don't want to go there.
Well, yeah.
So it's for me, it's just like, are you really, really surprised by it?
In the case of Resident Evil 5, I was surprised. Because, I mean, there's a certain amount of, okay, like, cultures are different, that's fine. Japan has a race problem anyway. I'm sorry if people from Japan are listening, or Japanese Americans, or whatever. I love Japan, love Japan.
I love it too.
But culturally, it has problems. It has animal rights problems, and it has a race problem. And if you don't need to know, and if you need to be convinced of that, find someone who lives in Japan but is Korean. And they can tell you about Japan's race problem. And ask a dolphin, and they can tell you about their animal problem. Or watch The Cove.
The Cove.
Like through eyes like this, because ooh, that's rough.
Especially that whole last scene where he's going around. It's just,
God, that was rough. But yeah, but I do love Japan, just not some of the stuff they do. Resident Evil 5 surprised me, not so much because of the race thing. Like we've all seen Dragon Ball Z. We all see. Don't give me that look. We've all seen Dragon Ball Z. I see the guy out there on the internet right now is looking at me going, no, I never watched that. What are you talking about? We've all seen it.
Everybody did.
So we all watched it, and we liked it at the time. And we all know Mr. Popo. And you know that is just something that they don't think about. Now, on the other hand, the thing with Resident Evil 5 is you're talking about Africa. Even if you're not sensitive to like portrayals of race, you have to be a little bit sensitive to this geopolitical stuff. I mean, Japan is not a third world country. They have news, and the lack of sensitivity to what was going on in Africa at the time it's just insane. And even take Chris Redfield out of his fucking cop uniform. What the hell? That doesn't raise a red flag with anyone. It just blows my mind. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it.
Right.
I'm just saying yeah, that was there, but that's the rambling answer to that is, that's the most controversial episode. That's the one I've gotten the angriest amount of mail on, but also some of the most enlightened mail. Some of the most, the mail of people saying, I am a black person working in the video games industry. Thank you. The industry is not well represented with people who are not Caucasian or Japanese, and it's a shame. And if I can help with that, great. I don't know that I am, but if that helped, great. Then I've done something worthwhile.
I'm all for the debate, but I'm all for the realization that, again, they're the Japanese.
Yeah.
That's in the end, because I like everybody. You realize race. I'm Hispanic, so. Yeah. I like in BioShock 1 when they had the Bandito guy. Hey, you wanna buy some weapons? And I was like, I got twitched a little bit. And I'm like, it's okay. I don't mind, and that's me.
Yeah.
But it's the way it goes. Now, want to finish it off because we're going to get to something. Speaking of major hate mail. Okay. Roger Ebert. Okay. Just recently took back what he said that video games are not art. In fact, that he didn't play them. Yeah. So he came back around and just like, you know what, I didn't play the games, was a fool to say they're not art until I played them. But I got a lot of books and movies to do, so I'm not going to play. So go ahead. And he just left it at that. You do all this game critiques, you do movie reviews on the Escapist Magazine. What do you think? Do you think he was just a responsible guy who said, okay, I was dumb and let me do this? Or do you think he was just tired of all the hate mail?
The thing is, I think a lot of this, the Roger Ebert thing that happened, a lot of it is I don't think that a lot of the gamer community had really paid a lot of attention to. Now, I'm sure people knew who Roger Ebert was, like they know him from TV and whatnot, but he's been around a long time. And one of the things that if you had followed him prior to all of this is that dude loves to be in a fight. Yep. And he he is rhetorically, he's a scrapper. That dude loves to be in an argument. He loves to be on the other side of something and railing against something or whatnot. So I think that when he made what I assume he thought was a very casual thing, it's like, oh, video games, no, they're not art. Mm-hmm. Which is something I think a lot of film guys think. A lot of guys who are from, the film world are not fond of video games. They don't like the idea of, audience participation narrative in general. It's like theater guys are not nuts about, like performance art or whatnot. There's a whole movement now that, pro wrestling should be regarded as like a theater art, and, talk to people who are in like theater departments of stuff and whatnot, and you might as well kick their cat. Yeah. So I think he made what he thought was a very matter-of-fact, just statement of opinion about, video games and whatever. And people got on him about it. And for him, that was, okay, it's on. And then he stayed on it probably longer than he ought to have, because that dude loves to be in a fight about this. I mean, that's his whole life. That was the whole thing of Siskel and Ebert, was, that he was going to get into it with the late Gene Siskel about this stuff. And I think, I don't agree with what he said. I think he's wrong about this. But I also think it's a generational thing. And that's what it is. And I do think gamers went overboard on it, because this is like the most and as gamers, I'm sorry, but we are spoiled in terms of famous people kissing our ass. We are, because Hollywood in particular knows how big games are, so every time they make a video game movie, everyone's out, oh god, yeah, I play them all the time, we've got them on the bus, they're wonderful, we love gamers, I love GTA, it's so awesome. It used to be rappers when they went on Cribs, is Cribs still on? I haven't watched MTV in 15 years. Does Cribs exist?
I don't even know anymore.
I don't know. But it used to be there was this show called Cribs where they'd show off their big house. And it used to be that they'd have to show you their copy of Scarface. They had to show you that they had Scarface. Now they have to show you the 360 and tell you what their gamer score is and whatnot. And we are so used to having the celebrity culture, most of which I guarantee you are not big gamers. Maybe they have one, but like they are gamers in the same way that they're car fans because they own a car. And we are so used to that amount of ass kissing that when someone famous came out and said, well, no, actually I don't like them and think they're not all that special, we went nuts and we went way overboard. Not for nothing, but guys, when you're sending, I'm not going to tell you not to send mail to Roger Ebert, but when you're sending hate mail, please keep in mind you're sending it to a man in his 70s who's missing the bottom half of his face. So, you're not, send hate mail to me, send, disagreement mail to, the guy who's convalescent. It's one of the, I think we went overboard on that, and I'm glad that he went to it and said maybe I've been a bit of a nut on this, but I think it was blown ridiculously out of proportion, and I think it was blown out of proportion on our side.
Yeah.
I think this is our bad.
And it was. It's the way I felt about it. I immediately, when I first saw his comments, I immediately put up just a little thing that I wrote, where it was just, what. The way he explains art, in a way, he is kind of right, but that's his explanation. There's, you can find different dictionaries with different explanations and various amounts of definitions for the word art. And art can mean everybody. Art's in the eye of the beholder. Right. There's so many ways to define art, so many ways to say what art is. I don't know if you had it or someone else had it in their videos. Like someone put crap on a thing, and that's art. Yeah. So people were criticizing it, and it's just like, we have to realize, I was putting it out there, we have to realize gaming is still new. Yeah. We don't have the 100 years of film. We don't have the thousands of years of paint, 200 years of pictures. We don't have that yet. We're making big strides, but I'm sure when the first couple of films came out, they were like, oh, this is a great piece of art. The first film with ladies coming out of the factory. Yeah. They weren't saying that. It took a while, and then just like, wow, this is really art. It's going to take a while, and people's minds are changing. So that's something that, that's the way I felt. But, with you, the way you put it, yeah, it's kind of sucked that the gamers went off like that. But then again, I'm not surprised, because I'm sure you get that.
Well, no, it's what we do. The fact is, the gamer culture right now is synonymous with internet message board culture. Yeah. And that means it's a powder keg. And that means that the loudest, angriest voices with the most time on their hands are always going to have more of a forum. There are people smarter than, much smarter than me, who have much more interesting things to say about video games than me. And the reason you don't hear from them is because they don't have time to be making YouTube videos and whatnot. They are off, hopefully, making games, or writing for them or whatnot. Shigeru Miyamoto has forgotten more about games than I'll ever know, and the reason you don't hear from him all the time is because he's working. He has stuff to do. So that's so I'm speaking as part of the problem.
All right. Well, that's GameOverthinker. You can find his stuff at Screwattack.com, escapistmagazine.com, and also on the YouTube under Movie Bob.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. All right.